Look, I'll be honest, a couple of the books that are on this list, I had genuinely forgotten that I put them on there. So that should be some kind of indication as to how this is going to go. Hi, welcome, come on in. My name is Aoife and today I am going to wrap up the books that I had picked out to read in spring of this year and see if I've actually read them. There's no point in beating around the bush. Let's just get into it. The first book that I had put on the list was Angels by Marion Keyes, and I didn't read it. I didn't even pick it up. However, I do have a decision in mind for what I want to do with this book, and that will be implemented really soon. So it is going to come off my TBR quite soon. It just hasn't already come off it, and it is still there. Disappointing start. The second book that I put on the list was Oh My God, What a Complete Ashling by Sarah Breen and Emer McLysett. You'll remember if you had seen the original TBR video that the cover of the book in that was more turquoisey than white. That is because I initially decided to read it in German, and I did try that out, and I did start it, and you'll see that in my Irish readathon, 24-hour readathon vlog. I gave up on the German though about maybe 60% of the way through. I think I just was using too much brain power, and I just wanted at that stage to just read something that I wasn't thinking too much about. That wasn't, like, the Ashling books aren't a book that you really need to think about a lot. It's very kind of escapist fiction where you can just kind of sit down, curl up with it, and explore Ashling's life and everything that's going on with her at the moment. This is the first book in what is, as of now, a trilogy, but there will be a fourth book coming out in the next couple of months, as far as I'm aware. I know that Emer and Sarah have just finished up on their deadline, maybe last week or the week before. I'm really excited to see what happens with the fourth book, and I think I'm going to go through the rest of the trilogy in the lead up to the publication of that, just to see a kind of a rejig of my memory of what happens in the books. The next book on the list was To All the Boys I Loved Before by Jenny Han. This is, again, a copy in German, as you can see. And I also did not read that one. I put this one initially on because the cover has always felt like spring to me. It's very springtime, it's very pastel, and I like pastel colours when you're going into spring because they remind me of cherry blossoms that you see blossoming around all the time in spring months. Unfortunately, I didn't get around to this in English or in German, but I have a feeling that that's because I just wanted to go back over the trilogy before I sat down and finally watched Always and Forever, Lara Jean. I haven't actually watched that one yet, but I probably will go back on the three books and then binge all three of the movies again. Next on the list was The Spark by Jules Wake, and this one was slightly more successful in that I actually did start it. So The Spark is about Jess and Sam, who meet at a kind of potluck dinner that Jess's parents or uncle is hosting one evening, and Sam comes along because he's a new neighbour and he wants to meet people in the community. Jess and Sam hit it off instantly, and they get really close with each other, and there is a kind of a spark between the two of them, but they don't enact on anything because at the present moment, Sam has a girlfriend called Victoria. Throughout the course of the book, Sam and Victoria break up, and Jess and Sam decide to give their relationship a try. As you can imagine, Victoria turns into this kind of scorned girlfriend who makes it her whole life's mission to destroy any kind of budding relationship Sam and Jess have. I definitely understood that aspect of it because Sam and Victoria had been together for about 4 years before they had broken up. And when you've been with somebody for 4 years, they become such an intrinsical part of your life that it's difficult to imagine anything that happens without them. Some of the antics that Victoria got up to were a little bit questionable. Some of them were actually really entertaining and I did enjoy reading them. But a huge letdown and a big disappointment for me, and I probably should have seen it coming, was the insta-love in this book. I am not an insta-love fan. I absolutely hate reading it. It's something that turns me off a book quite a lot. So when I saw it in this book, that was kind of a downside to me, and it did hamper me reading it a little bit. I didn't enjoy it as much as I probably would have if their relationship had developed a little bit more over time and they had a much more slow burn romance than initially seeing each other and then bam, they've fallen in love with each other. So while I did start The Spark, I didn't finish it. Next on the list is one that I've spoken about a couple of times, and that is the Single Dot Handbook by Lindsay James. I was really anticipating this book. I think I put it on my 5-star predictions list. It didn't quite hit 5 stars, but it did hit 4.5 stars for me. The Single Dot Handbook is about Evan and Violet, and Evan has lost his wife Claire to breast cancer just before the start of this book. And you're going through Evan kind of rebuilding his life without Claire by his side. He discovers one day a little box full of notes that Claire had left for him to kind of help him make life a little easier in her absence. So she has got some tips for him for Violet's first day at school. She's got tips for when he doesn't think that he's being the best parent that Violet could have. So you've got Evan trying to rebuild his life and find out how to parent Violet when the other parent type has been completely taken out of his life. But you've also got a very sweet romance in Hannah, who is a friend of Evan and Claire's, who's come back from travelling recently and is now kind of rediscovering what she wants in Edinburgh. She's kind of getting to know Evan a bit more. She's getting to know Violet a bit more because Violet doesn't really have any living memories of Hannah being there. There are some other quite hard-hitting side plots to this book. You've got some difficult moments with Evan and his mother. You have got some difficult moments with Violet and some of the other guys that are in school with her. I really enjoyed this book, and if you are a lover of P.S. I Love You, that kind of a book, this is definitely one that you need to pick up. The final 2 books on the list are ones that I did not read, but I may do for some kind of a reading vlog or a Books and Brews coming up, because they have got a similar plot in that they're both set in Japan. So you have got The Broken Heart's Honeymoon by Lucy Dickens, and you have also got The Little Tea Shop in Tokyo by Julie Kaplan. Again, these had cherry blossoms on the cover. They were set in Japan, which is kind of the home of cherry blossoms in my mind. So that instantly screamed out springtime reading to me, but I just didn't get around to them this month. I don't know why I didn't prioritize them when I had initially written down to do so. But now that we've admitted that I haven't gotten around to them, maybe if I find another book that is set in Japan of that kind of same vein, maybe that is something that I can do for Books and Brews if that's something you'd like to see. So that has been my least successful seasonal TBR yet. It can genuinely only improve from here. Don't forget to like and subscribe because I have new videos up every week. Now, get on out of here.